years ago, and it was a real, let's just say I really came in with very little hope because I didn't believe that a simple piece of technology that just sticks onto your body can do the things they have has done for my son. And when we were introduced to this 2.5 years ago, quite honestly, we just came home 2 months previous to that for stem cell injections. We traveled internationally to get stem cell injections for my son. My son is 11 years old today. He is considered a non-speaker, nonverbal. You'll hear that a lot. He is severely autistic. He has a sensory processing disorder. He has apraxia on a global level, which means a brain-body disconnect globally. Uh, a touch of OCD. And to be quite frank, when this happened to us 2.5 years ago, my life flipped upside down. Not 2.5 years. When we got the diagnosis 8.5 years ago, excuse me, our lives flipped upside down. And doctors basically said, listen, Olga, I don't know how to break this to you. You keep asking me when your son will start talking. And I said, of course, because I'd like to know when my son will start talking. This is very important for me, doctor. And he said, Mom, he goes, I'm going to be honest with you. This is probably never going to happen. He will never speak, and he will most likely become institutionalized in his teenage years because you won't be able to handle him. It happens to many families. And when I received that information, I'll never forget that drive home. He was in the back seat with me, and I just cried my heart and my soul out that whole 45 minutes back to school. And I typically don't do that in front of Alex because I don't ever want him to see me in that state. But I couldn't help because I was able to see fast forward what my life was going to look like. He was only 4.5 years old at that time. And that conversation with that doctor really turned, and it was a huge pivot in my life. And I knew I had to do something to really take charge and take a handle of my son's life. Because I believe that doctors, although I do believe there are good doctors, I also do believe that doctor gave me nothing but no hope that day. I left that office afraid for our lives. Afraid for my son's life, what our future would look like. It was all disappointing information. And I remember coming home that day and having a conversation with my sister. My sister simply said to me, her name is Renata. She says, Olga, I read a story on Facebook about a mom who started these holistic treatments on her son, and I think it's worth a look. And her son, she was able to really change his life. And I spoke to that mom, and she says, look, everything is different. Every child is different, and every child's needs are different in the autism community. And I think we could all say, if you know one, you know they're all so very different. One may be more like this, one may be more like this. They all have their own ways in what they excel or what becomes extremely challenging for them. And I knew I had to take things in my own hands. And I said, you know what? Today's the day. Enough is enough. I opened up my pantry. I took a big black garbage bag and I basically took everything out of the pantry. I looked in the ingredients and basically we emptied out the pantry that day. And I said, this is going to be the day where we're going to start to change. This is going to be where we change everything. Because if I don't do anything now, nothing will change. It was the hardest thing to do because he's the pickiest eater and he does not eat anything except certain foods. Well, that change, I gave him no choice but to eat what I put in front of him. And within 2 days of not eating, what is one going to do? He's hungry now. And he started eating all of these organic, delicious, clean, fresh food that I placed on the table. I noticed that little change. There was a change in my son's eczema. He had extreme eczema. He had an eye that was he became cross-eyed after the when my son initially got diagnosed with autism. There was so those things went back to normal. Eczema went back to normal. His eye centered back in. So there was hope there. But after a while, I noticed that we had to do the next best thing. And then we looked into a biomedical doctor. And I started giving my son, I don't know how it is in South Africa or anywhere else outside of the States, but I know that us moms are always looking for the next best thing. So I'm sure these are going to sound familiar to you. And if not, I'd be happy to tell you more. Then we started methylated B12 shots. So every night my son was getting B12 shots, methylated B12 shots for 2 years. I noticed a little bit of a change there, but then after 2 years, we came to like a pivot. It was like a plateau. There was nothing happening after that. So I said, "What's the next best thing?" And it was the hyperbaric chamber. But if we know anything about the hyperbaric chamber, it's very expensive. I went in once with no money, and he was having an anxiety attack in there. So I knew that we couldn't continue that at 6 years old because it was too much for him. He was getting very upset and nervous in there. I didn't want him to be that way. I didn't want him to do that. I did not want to do that to him. So we decided, okay, this is not going to work. And plus, I don't have the financial means for it. The next best thing was, and my last resort was stem cell injections. And stem cell injections are even more expensive. And the truth of the matter is, you're traveling internationally, and you put all your hope into these clinics. And the God's honest truth, how do we know we're really getting stem cells? How do we really know? There's no studies. These clinics don't have any studies. You're just hearing other parents' testimonies and really putting all your trust in that. Came home from stem cell injections, and of all the things that I did, I noticed that stem cells were the most promising. And I said to Javi, I said, we're going to have to figure out a way to be able to provide this every year for my son. Because when you get stem cell injections, it is not, my friends, you hear people go for stem cells, you don't hear how many times they go. They don't just go once, they're going usually once a year. And stem cell injections to travel into Mexico or to travel into Panama or to travel into India is going to cost you between $10,000 to $20,000 for the session. And I knew that
Wow,
we
that's
didn't
a
have
lot.
finance. It's tremendous, and we didn't have the
Yeah.
financial means for it. Well, we got a phone call 2 months later. We're going to fast forward now all the way into X39. And we get a phone call 2 months later from our dear friend, Javi's dear friend, not really mine, Javi's old dear friend that he hadn't spoke to in about 8 years. And he goes, Javi, I thought of you. There's something that just came back that just something that's out on the market. It's doing phenomenal things for people, and you've got to really you got to really take a look at it. And I was listening to the conversation they were having on the side. He didn't know I was there listening. And I thought my husband was crazy for even entertaining this. I said, "How could we? Has my husband lost his mind? We're going to now talk about some sticker that's going to give my son stem cells." Well, there was this, I'll never forget, there was a moment during that conversation that just said, "You've got to try it. The worst thing you can do is not do anything." Because here we are on a mission. And here we are, all of us, all 32 of us are on a mission to help our community, to help families achieve a better quality life for their son. Am I calling this a cure by any means? I am not. And I know that everybody's timing is going to be so different in things that they see with the patch. I want you to really understand that. One person might put the patch on, they might see things within 1 week, and another person might put the patch on and not see anything in 6 months. But I know one thing, it is a lot cheaper than getting stem cell injections. And I'm going to be honest with you, the results that I'm seeing are greater than stem cell injections. We put the patch on my sweet Alex. In 1 week, my son was doing things that he was never able to do. And the first thing was he was swinging on a swing. And because of the global apraxia, he knows what he wants to do, but his body cannot execute it. There's this connection neurologically. He knows what he wants to do, but he just can't achieve it. Within 7 days, my friends, my son was swinging on a swing. Within 3 months, my son decided to bring me the shoes for a Peloton, which is a bicycle, exercise bicycle that we have here at home. And he put the shoes on. He locked his shoes in and he was riding. He started cycling. Much easier cycling on a Peloton than it is to cycle on an actual bike. But I thought, wow, we've got the motion of the legs going, something he wasn't able to do. So if we can get this going, I'm sure we could probably get him going on a regular bicycle. And then 3 months later, he's riding a scooter with 1 foot. So yes, it's simple. It means many autistic kids may be able to do this. Mine was not able to do this at the age of 9. Stand on a scooter and with 1 foot, get the scooter going. And then 1 month later after that, which is exactly 8 months of using the patch, my son was riding a scooter. My son is receptive language is phenomenal. He, at one time, Alexander, go get your shoes and put them on, sweetheart. He'd never do it. Now he is. Alexander, go get your coat. Alexander, the bus is here. Let's wait out front. Let's keep our bodies balanced, Alexander, because he gets a little stimmy still. I'm not, again, not claiming cures. Just letting you know that my son at one time, he was not able to stand in one spot for too long. His body couldn't do it. He'd have to flap his hands. He'd be jumping and flapping his hands. He's not doing it any longer. We're standing together in front of our house waiting for the school bus to come pick him up. He couldn't go on a school bus for many years. He was terrified. He goes with joy. He's
That's absolutely
regulated.
incredible.
The regulation on his body was the biggest for me. The motor skills were the second biggest for me. Now, the third biggest is doctors told me he'd never be able to speak. And although we are not having a full conversation, no, not by any means. I'm not here to give anyone false hope. But you want to hear great hope? He couldn't say anything. Now he says iPad. Now he says eyes pop. Now he says go. He says jump. He said mama. He said daddy. He's
Wow.
John, Paul for his brother, John
Wow.
and Paul, Mark for his other brother's name. And this is 2.5 years of using this patch. I always look at my husband and say, because there are days I get defeated still, because it's the fear of a mother, the fear of the mother of what will our future look like? Where will we all be in the next 10 years? These are normal questions that a mom with a child with special needs is going to ask herself. I had it this morning. My husband and I were having a business meeting with friends, and we're sitting down and they had left. And I looked at my husband and I said, he goes, stop. He's got to regulate mom sometimes. Stop, mom. Control yourself. Everything is looking great, and it's going to only look greater in 2.5 years. So
That's
my mission,
incredible.
lock arms with every single one of you. Don't listen to what those doctors are saying. I'm not saying go against the doctors, but if doctors are giving you worst case scenario like they did with mine, my son is hitting puberty right now. Most children with special needs, you'll hear stories they hit puberty much earlier. He's about in the beginning process of it. He's actually hitting puberty earlier than my oldest son. And I'm worrying about that season of puberty. What will it look like? Because you hear so many different stories, and most of the stories don't sound good. You're hearing worst case scenarios. But we've got a great product in our hands. I know a lot of us here have probably tried other things. I know a lot of us here want the one thing and one thing only, and that's to give our kids the best quality of life. And here we have our hands on it. We really do. So, Allison, that's just
100%.
how we started and where we are. Um, if there's anything else that you'd like me to touch on, I'd be more than glad to touch on it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing and sharing so honestly about actually the diagnosis and how you walk out of that room. As a parent, you're right. It doesn't matter, parent of any child, no
Right.
matter their abilities and how all you want for them is the best. And to be faced with something where you're told that he's never going to do this and do that. Was there
Mhm.
ever a point where you thought, I'm actually just going to give up looking for something? Or did you just
Oh,
always
absolutely.
know that you would continue?
There's been, look, I get defeated. I got defeated this morning. It's just normal. I mean, I don't say it because I'm telling you, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you that I'm a regular person that still gets defeated. But were there days prior to X39 that I wanted to throw in the towel and just say, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing here. Doctors are looking at me like I'm crazy. Friends they think I'm crazy. This is the situation. This is what it is, and I'm just going to have to accept it. But there was always this stop it. Stop it right now, Olga, because there's the next thing, and probably for our lives there'll be the next thing. But the X39 will always be something that I will wear, my family will wear on a daily basis to support our bodies because I see what it has done for my son and myself.
Incredible. And I mean, I love watching the videos that you show sometimes. I mean, I had the honor of meeting you guys in December and listening to your raw story about, where you've come and watching those videos. I mean, it makes me cry whenever I watch it because I realize that what could have been and what is. And I think every mother, every person, every parent, father, mother, aunt, uncle will realize how special it is to have helped Alex progress to be the best version of himself. Seeing him walking down, one of the recent videos was him walking down the aisle at your wedding. I mean, something that you probably never believed would ever
Never,
happen. And
ever,
to have that
ever.
now, I mean, you must sit back and go, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I continued on this journey.
Absolutely. And when you're in it, you sometimes don't see those little things. And when you do, oof, when you see your son walking independently at your own wedding down the aisle without assistance as he always needed. He always needed hand in hand in everything that he did. Does he still need hand to hand coaching and helping and guiding? Yeah, he does with some things that are still challenging for him. But
And I
wow,
mean, if
go
I
ahead.
was to ask you a difficult question, sort of in terms of your fears, I mean, I can imagine that your fears, you would have had incredible fears before you'd found X39. And where are they today? You probably, like, how do you feel about the progression?
The progression is exciting. The progression is probably the most exciting thing because, like I said before, what will 2 years from here? What will 4 years from here look like? Even if it's just him putting together half a sentence. We may never have a full-blown conversation. I don't like to say never but I always say we may never because we don't know what the future will hold. In the meantime, I will do what I will do to help him communicate the best that he can with different devices or different speaking. I don't know how many families here are on today that have non-speaking children. But there are so many things. There are computers now. There's the spelling to communicate that many people are guiding their children to help communicate fluently and become robust communicators through spelling and typing. There's so many things out there, but X39 can help with that, can help facilitate the speech, can help facilitate the motor. So these things will become easier and possibly sooner than later.
And life-changing.
And life changing. I always use that. Life changing is the biggest.
100%, even for me. So I've got a question here about academics. Can I just maybe ask you it quickly? Hold on a second.
Sure,
I'm trying to
anything.
see. I would like to know academically, how is he faring now? Did he have challenges identifying colors, numbers, and letters? And is he still doing therapy, e.g., speech occupation? And this is from a mom who has a boy who's living with autism, which is why she's
Okay.
asking these questions.
How old is her, if you don't mind? I'm just curious on how old the child is. Just
I
curious.
can't actually remember. Could you maybe just
Well,
tell me,
maybe if
Grace, how
she's
old he is?
7.
I
Oh,
can't
7.
remember.
Beautiful.
Ah,
7 years
seven.
old, she
Yeah.
messaged. Well, Gracie, going on 8. Beautiful. So I remember 6, 7, 8 teachers told me, because remember, X39 was not introduced to us until he was 9. He is nonverbal. Okay, so I want to give you some great information right now. I want to tell you if you're not using X39, keep X39. If you're not using X39, get it on. If you are using X39, continue to use X39. Also, I love carnosine and I love Eon. I place Eon and carnosine right by the temple of his brain. And when I did that, that's when I started to see the speech come. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer your question because I kind of jump around. If you don't know me yet, I get so excited, my thoughts go. So
But that's
I'm going,
passion. That's
it's passion.
passion.
It is passion. So at 6, 7, and 8 years old, we had Alexander in a public school system in a special ed class, which has got about 4 kids in there. And we use a therapy in the States. I don't know how other countries are, but here it's called applied behavioral therapy. It's how they studied all children with autism. And it's been out since the 80s. And they basically are it's not, I don't like it. I'm actually right now in the process of fighting the school and suing the school because they are labeling my son with something called MR, which means mentally retarded. I hate to even say that because it sounds god awful. And I always knew in my heart of hearts that my son is not cognitively delayed. I just knew that I knew there was the connection from here to his body. So it looks as if he doesn't know what I'm saying. He doesn't understand anything. But he did, and he always did. And how did we find that out? So I'm going to fast forward. He knew his colors, but teachers said he didn't. And why? Because they'd put three blocks out, for instance, and one was blue, one was red, one was green. And they'd ask Alex, hey, point to the letter, to the green color. And because Alex has global apraxia, which I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a doctor, I can't diagnose, but I will tell you from the readings and studies that I've done, most children who are nonverbal with autism, and even with and may even be verbal, but with autism, there is a 98% chance that your child has a global body apraxia, which is a brain body disconnect. So, because they're saying where is green and his body is not going to where green is, it does not mean that he doesn't know where green is. It means his body, he has no control over his body. Actually, I've spoken to non-speakers because I'm a S2C practitioner, which is a spelling to communicate practitioner. I got certified 2 years ago because I wanted to help my son along with other children who are non-speaking and adults. And I realized one thing when I spoke to non-speakers who facilitated and who worked with the spelling to communicate board, they all agreed, the non-speakers, through spelling. You know what they all said to me? My body gives me such difficulties, or my body doesn't listen to me. Do you know how frustrating it is for my body not to listen to me? And I'm standing with someone and they're saying hi, and I'm walking away, but I don't want to walk away, but my body does what it wants to do. They explained it to something as close to something very similar to Tourette's. I'm sure if you haven't heard of Tourette's, it's doing things that they can't control their body. Very similar. So I think whatever it is that your schools are saying, the children have it in them. How can we find it? How can we get it out of them? First, wear the patch to support the body, because when those children who are not speaking, what they verbalize to me with the patch, and they're now able to verbalize, or not verbalize, communicate through pointing on a spelling board, typing on a spelling board, or communicating on an ACC, which is a facilitated computer with many different ways to I want or I feel, and they give you specific things. Not broad speech, but enough to get by. And they all have one thing in common. X39 helps my body feel regulated. That is huge. So now let's move forward. How are they communicating this? I want you guys to write this down because we're going to get off X39 for 1 second. There's something called spelling to communicate. Okay. S2C. S, the number 2, and the letter C. It's big here in the States. It started with an Indian practitioner, I think over in India, who had a non-speaking child. She brought it to the States, and I forgot exactly the name of her technique. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. If I get it, I'll write it down in one of our chats. I can send it to Allison and she could put it in the chats for all families here today. But it's very similar to spelling to communicate. They took it, they revamped it, made it a little bit more easier in different ways. And the movie that I suggest everyone here sees, it's on YouTube. Uh-oh, hold on. I'm sorry, I got disconnected over here. It's on YouTube, and it's called Spellers, Spellers. Everyone here that has a non-speaking child, after this conversation, after getting X39 on, after helping regulate that body, I'm telling you, that's a huge one. Please listen to me when I say it. I say it with such urgency. The regulation on their body is the hardest thing for them. If we can help regulate their body, everything gets simpler. Everything, the anxiety goes down. The direction of their body is now going to places that it wants to go to. Once we get that going, we could help all non-speakers with S2C, with spelling, and they basically start spelling on a board. Does it happen right away? No, because again, motor challenge becomes a big problem for them. So again, X39 will help the motor challenge, will help regulate. And once we do that and practice spelling to communicate, guess what? Maybe you don't have a child speaking verbally, but if you can have your child write a book write a book because that's what I've seen. They're writing books. They're starting their own little businesses. I have one 19-year-old student, Speller, who's now created his own business. He started an organic a repellent for insects, so that when you go outside, they're using organic products. And he's got he's got his little it's a little lot he's got like a little lab in his room, and he's putting together these things slowly. People are buying them. Do you know what kind of gratitude and how happy he is, what that does to someone's self-worth? They deserve that. And so cognitively, I don't believe any of them are delayed. I believe it's all apraxia. So you might think they don't know the color blue, green, one, two, three. My son today, I'm going to tell you a story about my son with spelling to communicate. And just so you can get an idea of this, Gracie, because I want you to see where we are at. My son fails horribly on all testing levels in school. They have no hope. They believe that he doesn't understand anything. This is what they tell me. I'm about to pull my son out of school because I believe that that's going to really do a big screw up on him mentally, and depression will kick in. And I don't want to do that to my son. So right now I'm fighting the school district. It's very hard to sue and fight a school district in the United States of America. They fight you and they fight you. I don't know how other countries are. But my son, we had a communication lesson, and we do lessons every day. This lesson was on Stephen Hawkins and on I forgot the diagnosis. We call it Lou Gehrig's disease. Lou Gehrig's disease would be, oh gosh, I'm going to do it right now. Siri, Lou Gehrig's disease is,
It'll come up
anyway,
just now, I'm sure. Yeah.
will come up. Lou Gehrig's disease. We did I'm going to say, oh, AS, not MS.
ALS.
ALS. Thank you. Thank you very much. ALS. It was a study on ALS and on Stephen Hawkins. And I asked him, Alexander, after that, I asked him questions pertaining to the lesson, but nothing that I mentioned in the lesson, the questions that I mentioned in the lesson were not in the lesson. So that means he would have to know this. He had this from prior knowledge, is what we call it. And I asked Alex, what is another way we can call we can call ALS here? What's another way we can describe ALS or call ALS here in the United States? And he spelled Lou Gehrig's disease. Come on, don't tell me he doesn't know anything.
Wow.
Alexander, Lou Gehrig is a famous baseball player here in the States. I asked Alexander, um, who is Lou Gehrig? He spelled famous baseball player. Nothing that I taught him, nothing that I ever told him. This is something that he has learned somewhere else, whether it be YouTube, because he watches YouTube a lot, whether he heard it somewhere and I didn't even pay attention, somebody else was saying it and he grabbed onto it. They're brilliant. They are brilliant. These kids are brilliant. We have to help them get it out. So I don't know if you guys have you heard of S2C? Has anybody here heard of S2C or spelling to communicate it? I'm interesting. Yes, Gracie, it is beautiful. It's life-changing on
No.
another level. And X39 will help that tremendously, help regulate your son's body. I don't know your son. I don't know what he's like, but I'm sure there's days where his body is just going like all over the place. There's almost as if they never get tired, running from one side of the room to the other. And so that's a great question. I hope that helped you a little bit. If you think that they don't know, they do know. I heard
Okay.
of communication
Tablets, yeah.
tablets.
Oh,
That's what we have here too. Tablets, communication tablets, great. The only problem is it's limited. And spelling to communicate is robust, full-blown communication.
okay. So thank you for that. And then also one of the things that obviously with Alex that we've been told about is the fact that he didn't like, so for those of you that don't know X39 yet, for those that have been added because of the subject matter, this is basically the patch that Alex would have been wearing, and not directly on his skin. I think if I'm not mistaken, Alex couldn't handle it directly on his skin. And maybe you want to tell us a bit about that.
Right. So there was a little point in the beginning where his sensory processing disorder is so he couldn't even wear clothes. He would run around naked. He hated the feeling of clothes. But now he's getting older and we have to put that into control. My son's friends are coming over. I mean, I don't mind. He's my son. I love him, but we we've got to put clothes on. So we worked on that many times. The patch was actually going onto his clothes at first. And then I started putting them on at night and somehow I got away with it. But I know there are families, and now he is wearing it on the skin, and now he comes over. He comes to me, ladies and gentlemen, to give me the sleeve so that I could place it on his body. So that goes to show you it must be huge for him to wear that, to know that he's got to put that on because it's helping him so much. So yes, you can wear the patch on your body, on the clothes. It doesn't matter. It's doing the same exact thing. Your body's emitting taking light and heat is coming out, hitting the patch like a mirror reflection right back into your body.
So just to confirm, there is absolutely nothing entering the body from this patch. It's your body's
Yes,
own heat and light that's being reflected back into your body to stimulate your copper peptide GHKCU and therefore activating dormant stem cells. So
that's
instead of
correct.
having someone else's stem cells or maybe not stem cells injected, you are
Right.
activating your body's own dormant stem cells.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I think we've got a lady here who's saying shame. So she's talking about she's got two autistic children, two autistic boys. One's 18, one's 14. And it was one of the questions that came up today. I was telling people about this discussion tonight, and they were saying, well, afternoon for you. And they were saying, well, I know someone, but their kid is an adult now, and almost like there's no hope because they're an adult.
Can you repeat that question one more time because you kind of broke it? I'm sorry, the connection
No,
here.
no,
One
no
more.
worries. So when I was talking to people today, they were talking
Yes.
about the fact that they have friends who have children with autism, but they're
Right.
adults, so there's no point. And
Oh
I did
no,
take a
please
step
don't do
back and
that.
thought,
Oh no, please don't do that. Please don't ever do that because they're prisoners in their own body and they will be prisoners in their own body until we take charge of it. Look, guys, I know that it's not easy and sometimes it's easier to do nothing. I get it. I get it. We're defeated. We're exhausted. We're tired. I was there when that pandemic happened and my son was shoved in the house and stayed there and we couldn't go outside and we were scared and we didn't know what was going on. We were terrified and then there was no school, no structure, that was the most 10 times it was 10 times worse for us during that season. It was already difficult. That season itself was even greater and even more difficult. If they become adults, I work with adults who are non-speakers. Now they are communicating through spelling to communicate. And they say, you have freed me of my prison of not being able to communicate. So please, just because they're old adults, that has nothing to do with it. My son is 11 years old. You know what they used to tell me? Well, when we started transplant, the stem cell injections, we started at 8.5, 9 years old. They said, "Oh, it's too late now. It's too late now. There will be no healing." Don't say that. That's not true. That has helped my son. The stem cell injections helped a little bit. X39 came on 2 months later, helped on levels that I've never seen gains the way I've seen gains with X39. Did stem cell injections help? Yes. Did X39 take it to the next level? Absolutely. Would I have stopped if I only had found out about it when I was 30 years old? Would I have said, nah, it doesn't make it doesn't make a difference. We're already too far gone. It's too late. This is our story and we've been living like this. No, please don't do that. Please don't do that because you have no idea what it will do for your son or
thank
child.
you, thank you. That's actually incredible because today I had people say 40-year-olds and there's no point. And I just thought, I would try. I don't have the same situation, but I would try, especially because it's non-invasive, putting nothing in the body. I would 100% give it a go. And the other question I had is that so let's say I've had a lady who's used it on her child, and the child had a response, a good response in terms of calmness and maybe sleeping for the first few nights, but then nothing for a few months. What was the longest period that you had where you didn't see a gain with Alex, like from one gain to another?
I our first gain was quick. It happened quickly, but it doesn't happen like that for everybody. So I hate to even give a timeline, but I will say this. I'll give you examples. I have a friend who was wearing the patch for 6 months, and she says, Olga, and for her son, who's also nonverbal autistic. And she says, Olga, I don't know, maybe it's not, maybe this is not working. It's okay. She goes, I appreciate you preparing me and educating me, but maybe this is just not going to work. And I said to her, oh dear, I said, please don't stop. Whatever you do, please don't stop. Is it a financial situation? Because I felt obligated to keep that child on. I knew the hopes were, I knew there were going to be things happening. Within 2 weeks, 2 months, I think now, excuse me, it was closer to 2 months later because it was like a month and a half. I remember exactly the timeline now. She called me up. She said, Olga, I'm so excited to share with something with you. And I said, please share. Her son only ate baby food, pureed food. His skin was orange because he loves carrots. His skin looked orange. You could see like the tip of his nose was orange, his skin, because he ate so much pureed carrots. She goes, today I made salmon. Salmon. I mean, come on, I was expecting chicken
Extreme.
or pizza or pasta or rice. Salmon. And my son ate salmon for the first time. And now he loves salmon. He's eating whole foods. Now we have other stories where kids haven't been able to walk for more than 5 minutes. Their bodies just couldn't handle it. There was a lot of stops, a lot of screaming, a lot of whining, a lot, they'd go on walks. Sometimes they were a little longer. We took a 3 mile hike there in Utah. They took a 3 mile hike, not one. And this was within a few months of wearing the patch. We have to remember that everybody's results are going to be so different. You might see your kid eat something different. You might see your child do something different, or you might hear your child speak. And we have children that were non-speakers at 6 and 7 years old are wearing the patch in Puerto Rico, as a matter of fact. And now the child is communicating verbally. Is he having a typical 6 or 7 year old neurotypical conversation as a neurotypical child? I'm using that word, those fingers, because that
Yeah.
basically does not, I don't like to even use those words. It's just what how society calls it on the whole. That child is now communicating things. Mom, I love you. Thank you. I like the way this feels. This tastes good. He wasn't speaking, now is speaking. So everybody's situation is so different. I wish my son put the patch on and he was speaking first. I always say it. I wish I could hear my baby's voice. I want to have a conversation with my child. To not be able to hear mommy, I love you from him still
Yeah.
chokes me. Like my
Yeah.
throat closes up because it's the worst feeling in the world. Because all
Yeah.
you want to do for your baby is give him a voice. I always said to Javi when I met Javi, I'd give him my voice, a voice. I've spoken enough in my life. Take my voice. God, give him my voice. Because I just want my kid to have a normal life and play with other kids and have friends and be the best that he can be. But then I have to stop myself. And you know what? It's not fair what happened to our babies or to the people that we love. It's not fair. And I wish that it wasn't our situations. But if we can do, and we have found something that is doing dramatic things. It has completely changed my son's life in every aspect. In every aspect. Is it perfect? It's not perfect. But is it the closest thing to perfect? I always say yes.
And thank you for that raw, honest feedback because we often, from the outside looking in, we often forget what parents are going through, what family members are going through in terms of dealing with loved ones who have challenges, whatever they may be. And it's incredible. And I mean, just watching you, I'm one of these, I cry for free, right? So
Yeah.
it's quite
Yeah.
difficult, but like just to honestly see the passion and the fact that you're going around sharing this with everybody because you feel that everyone should be using it now. It's the same thing I do. I realized that if I hadn't found this little sticker, as they call it, a patch,
Right.
my life would be very, very different today. And I'm not a fool to that. I'm very aware and cognizant of the fact that this has changed the trajectory of my life as it has yours, I'm sure. And I think
Yes.
one of the things for everyone on here is that you're not going to know unless you give it a try.
Right.
I certainly attest to the benefits, and having heard your story a couple of times, once in person and again today, is incredible to just see the pure emotion and passion with which you want to help other people.
I'm on
So
a
thank
mission.
you for that.
Thank you. I'm on a mission. I think we should all lock arms and be on this mission together. We just this life that we live here on earth, helping our kids is that's one of our missions. But let's all lock arms together. I don't know where everybody's coming from, but let's all lock arms together because we've got to get this out. It is our social responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. It is our social responsibility to let others know. And here is my social responsibility to share with you what it's done for my baby boy and how far we've come. I would love to share a video, and I'm wondering, Allison, if I share the video to you right now and send it to you on WhatsApp, would you be able to play it for everybody before we close out tonight?
I've
Now we'll hold, I'll hold on to you. No matter what this world throws, it won't shake me loose. I'll reach my hands out in the dark and wait for yours to enter like I wait for you. I'll wait for you. I'm not giving up, no, not yet.
So we played that video. We played that video in London, and it was just if you're living with a child who has autism or any type of special needs where it's debilitating and interrupting your day and challenging to do anything in life, which I know most people in my situation have had or are in currently. My son had very poor upper body motor skills. He still has challenges holding a pencil, but he's able to now take a ball and throw it, and we're playing ball together. He could not ride a bike. He could not swing on a swing. He could not ride a scooter. Those things have all improved. He did not eat well, and, or he had a limited diet. Those things have improved later on in different ways. Constantly I look at my son, I watch that video, it's a reminder. It's a reminder that there were days where I couldn't take my son to the mall because he was too much. It was too much. So Javi would go alone with just two of them because he didn't want to we have three boys. He didn't want to take away from the other two. So he would go to the mall with them and spend the day with them where I'd stay home with Alex because it was debilitating for him. He's now walking alone in the mall. He's now traveling on airplanes. We travel 8 hours, 9 hours. He's able to do it. He loves to travel now. If you know anybody with autism, their biggest fear is getting on a plane with them because they're not sure if that child's going to have a meltdown on a plane. And you can't have a meltdown on a plane because there's no escaping it. You're stuck in a seat. And when you have a child who's grown like that, you cannot control him. You cannot control them. It's so difficult. They're very strong. Going to a restaurant and sitting down together and eating, it's the simple things that we're looking for. It's the simple. We're not looking, you've gotten so used to this style, this lifestyle of mine that I've been living for so many years, that these little things are so big for me, but they're so simple for most people. So they might not be able to relate to my story or could truly understand what I mean by life changing, because it's been life changing. And I know that many of you here will feel the same exact thing. Life changing. The key is to stay consistent. Like anything else in life, my friends, if you're going to put the patch on and leave it on for 2 days and forget about it for 1 week, please don't expect results. It's like going to the gym.
Yeah.
Consistency is key. Consistency is key. So anything else?
On that note, I mean, there are some ladies on here who are single moms of children living with autism. But you've been lucky enough to have Javi, and I've met Javi as well, who's also a phenomenal person. And I mean, I don't know, it's a bit difficult for you to speak about how he's had to pick up the pieces with you on those days where you've been down and questioning and doubting. So,
Javi?
I mean,
Well, Yes, Javi is their stepfather. Javi and I only got married a year and a half ago, and Javi met me as a single mom. So if anybody knows what it feels like to do this alone, I do. And I was defeated. I had the most negative. Every time he would say like, "Oh, we're gonna go, well, let's go on vacation," I would say, "Are you crazy? We can't go on vacation. I can't go on vacation with my kids." He goes, "Stop saying that. Stop saying that. Every time you say that, you make it more real. You make it. That's what you're projecting. You're projecting the worst case scenario." Now, he helped me a lot. Javi has been my biggest supporter and the best, most amazing father figure for my children because their biological father picked up and left over 5 years ago. So my children have been so let down. And I always wondered, I wonder how Alexander is doing, how Alexander does with all this, because he's still, I'm sure, he remembers his biological father. But he looks at Javi and he goes into his pad and he goes, "I want daddy." And then I would say, because I would wonder which daddy is he talking about? Because biological father, and he would point to go into, because I have his biological father's picture there, because just in case, I never know. Maybe he will one day want to communicate with him some way. I can't take that from him. It's not his fault that that happened. So I would say, which daddy are you talking about? And he would say, "Daddy." Javi, Daddy Javi. So we knew that it was Javi. So, how did Javi help me? He helped me. He picked me up. He gave me hope again. He was my biggest cheerleader. He helped regulate my body because as a child, as a mom as a mom of a child with special needs, I too can become very dysregulated and I too can get very worried and sad and left in the dark and wonder what it's going to look like. I did it this morning at breakfast. "Baby, you think he'll ever speak?" He goes, "Stop. He is speaking already. He is speaking already." I said, "But a conversation. Do you think?" Patience, baby. Patience, baby. Everything takes time. It's so easy to screw a body up. It is the hardest thing to recover a body, to heal a body, to bring its body back into whole. So I know that we will be there one day. And I hope that we can all have a conversation soon. I'd love to have conversations with all of you. Maybe we could set up another Zoom in the future where
Yeah.
we could see how everybody is doing so we could share testimonies. It brings so much hope and then invite others here and
Yes,
continue our
thank
mission.
you. I'm going to just start wrapping up and ask if there are any questions. Can we leave the product questions and the pricing questions aside? Because I can do a Zoom for that on a separate occasion. But in terms of obviously the subject matter today, which is Alex and Olga and the journey with autism, are there any questions? We've got a few minutes. Just let me know, type them in. Wow, it's amazing though to see how everyone's so touched by your video and the complete honesty. And the truth is, if we don't share, how is anyone ever going to know?
Exactly. I'm just reading over
Yeah.
some of the comments, the chat.
Yeah. No questions, guys? Are we all good? All good, all good? Yeah, just fantastic to see the reviews. What a handsome boy. Thank you for sharing the tears. And I think that everyone
Hey,
just feels,
Kevin,
how
one
do you
you
cut his
mentioned.
nails?
How to cut his nails, that's difficult. I know that was a big one for me because he would never sit still, but I am cutting his nails. As a matter of fact, my son last week brought me a nail clipper to cut his nails because his nails grow very strong. When you're on X39, even you parents, I know we're looking to help our kids and I don't know what everybody's financial situation is here. I knew I was only getting X39 on my kid, but the X39 has helped regulate his body, which now he's able to hold his hands out and I'm able to cut it. But if you can't cut it right now, one trick that I learned while I was in this before X39 phase, I used to just file them down. I would file them down because that was easier to do. I was always afraid I was going to clip skin. I didn't want to clip his real nail and traumatize him. Someone asked me earlier, how long does a child wear a patch? I always recommend 1 hour, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Sometimes parents wonder, "Oh my gosh, what if it's too much for him?" It's not too much for him. I have little babies wearing this at 4 years, 3 years, 2 years of age that have had one is on a ventilate, with oxygen tank where he had some type of brain damage, and now he must wear basically a breathing device to help him breathe throughout the day. So he wears it. Everyone, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, take it off, repeat the next day. hello, we're just using X39 or combined with other patches, I always start with X39. That's the key. That's the holy grail. That is my go-to patch to start all things. I say wear X39 for a minimum of 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months. Once we get X39 going, then we can combine. If you have, and if you're not, and if you're in a situation where there is no financial burden, because I always want to understand that it's not easy for everybody to do certain things in life. I get that. If anybody does, I do. There was a time in my life where I couldn't do certain things. I didn't have the funds, but I always do. And now what we do is we put X39 glutathione 3 times a week. I use glutathione 3 times a week because I spoke to David Schmidt, excuse me. He's not a doctor, he's a scientist, but he's marvelous. And he's the inventor and scientific inventor of X39. He specifically said to me, X39, 3 to 6 months, then introduce carnosine and eon. Carnosine is for neurological, cognitive. Think of that. I always put on the left side of his brain because that's where speech and language is. So I bring it as close to the left side of his brain. Every night he wears that. So X39 during the day and carnosine on the left hemisphere of his brain for speech and language, because that's where speech and language is located. And I keep it there all night and I take it off in the morning. Eon is huge for inflammation for your cells. So I put that on in the evening as well, about 3 to 4 times a week in the middle of his back, as suggested by David Schmidt, the scientist and inventor of X39. Does the patch have any side effects? There are no side effects that I've seen with my own. I have heard that one child said he had a slight headache. I don't know if it's from the patch, but I will say this. Make sure your child drinks a lot of water. Just because your body will be detoxing. There's a huge detoxification that happens when you wear X39, especially in the first week or two. So when the genes are resetting and new cells are if cells are rejuvenating and being repaired, there will be a detox, just like there is a detox too when you get stem cell injections. Same idea, but with the patches. My son doesn't drink a lot of water. That is probably the biggest thing that I worry about with my son. He's never drinking enough water. Is he eating enough protein? And does he drink enough water? And the water is the biggest thing. So I basically have to chase him. And Javi and I are like, drink your water, drink your water. So we make sure he has at least 16 ounces a day, at least, which I wish it was.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And there was one more question I think we missed. If a child keeps taking the patches off, even the clothing, have you any help or tips on this?
Put it on in the evening when he's sleeping and try to see if we could just keep it there. Now, if that's on your body and you leave it there for more than 24 hours, please do not get worried. It should be 12 hours on, 12 hours off. If you leave it on longer, it's fine. It's okay. There's nothing wrong that will happen. I actually suggest wearing this first week X39, leave it on for the first day for 24 full hours, then take it off. If you can put it on at nighttime, I always suggest a nighttime patch. If we really have issues there, does it matter where to stick the patch? It doesn't matter. The study shows behind the neck or below the belly button. It does not matter. So if you've got to put it somewhere, put it on a fatty area, just because they might not notice it.
Notice.
Yeah, because sometimes when I put it behind the neck, if you bend your neck a certain way and you've got a lean back, you may feel that sticker. So the best place for us that we found was even on the buttocks, like on the tushy, or below the belly button, It's looser
Okay, that
skin.
makes sense.
The back of your back is tighter, unless you have a not very tight back, then we can put it on the back too.
Thanks for that clarification. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think in terms of how and where to get the patches, I'm just going to say to everyone, please contact the person that invited you here today. They will be able to help you explain how you get the patches, where you get the patches. I know we've got people here from all over the world. So you will have that explanation. And also I'm available to do a Zoom call explaining the actual product information. Olga today has spoken about X39 as the base patch, but also carnosine and Aeon. So I can definitely
also
go into that.
glutathione. Glutathione is
And
great
glutathione.
for detoxing.
Yeah. Okay.
Huge one.
So
Yeah, at least
that
3 times
kind
a
of
week.
information we can give you. And if you have any questions, let me know and I will ask Olga. I'll pass them on and pass any information. But I am just so grateful, Olga, for you doing this today. And I really hope we have another follow-up when people start to share. I mean, there's people on here who are on autism community groups, and I'm sure that as the word spreads, it will certainly help people change their lives and the lives of those that they love.
Yes, and there's one more question, if you don't mind. I just sort thank you
Yeah.
both for your time. But there's somebody that said something about very energetic. That is very common. Even when you do any type of new treatment, stem cell injections, they might feel like there's a heightened energy level. They're running around, their body's harder to control. Very common when your body is reproducing new stem cells. Same thing happened to us. That's basically it's working. Don't let it scare you. That will calm down. It calmed down with my own son. It will happen. And it also happens in different phases. Do not let that fear stop you. I know it's exhausting, but that's just body doing what it's supposed to do. That means it's working. One new message. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. That's it. All right. If anything else
Thank you,
pops up
thank
before I
you,
hang
thank you, thank you.
up. Thank you. Thank you for having me. If we ever in need to do another Zoom, it is my pleasure to come on here and help you out in any ways that I can, my friends, okay?
Thank you so much. And have a great afternoon for you, right? And
You.
have a great evening, everyone else.
Yes, for you guys evening. That's right. All right. Thank
Okay,
you. Have
thank
a wonderful
you.
evening.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye,
Thanks.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.